Hello, my friends. I am here just chatting, hanging out with my buddy ChatGPT. I've got some questions I want to ask ChatGPT. So we're about to have another interview. Do you know what Agile is all about? How much Scrum do you know? I'm trained to have knowledge about Agile principles and practices, as well as Scrum methodology. Scrum is not a methodology, ChatGPT. I apologize for my mistake. You are correct that Scrum is not a methodology, but rather an Agile framework. Get it right, bud. My apologies. You're correct. Scrum is a framework, not a methodology. You learn quick. You learn quick, my friend. You learn fast. Good. Okay. I strive to improve with each interaction. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Why is there so much angst about Scrum being inflexible and rigid? Explain. The perception that Scrum is inflexible and rigid may stem from a misunderstanding of how it is intended to be implemented. Scrum is designed to be an Agile framework that promotes flexibility and adaptability. However, some teams may interpret that the Scrum framework is too strictly adhering to the specific roles, events, and artifacts without considering their unique context and needs. This can lead to a rigid implementation that may not effectively address the team's specific challenges. It is important to note that the Scrum framework is not prescriptive and allows for tailoring to fit the specific needs of the team and project. The Scrum Guide explicitly states that Scrum is not a silver bullet and it will not solve every problem. Therefore, teams should focus on understanding the underlying principles of Scrum and using them to guide their approach rather than blindly following the framework without critical thinking. Okay. What do you have to say to the people who claim Scrum is less effective compared to Kanban? As an AI model, I do not have personal opinions or beliefs. However, in the Agile community, both Scrum and Kanban are considered effective methodologies, and the effectiveness can depend on specific context. Scrum is often used for complex projects with a defined end goal, while Kanban is used for continuous delivery and improving flow. Both approaches have their strengths and limitations and should be chosen based on the specific needs and circumstances of a project. It's important to note that these methodologies are not mutually exclusive and can be combined or adapted to fit the needs of the project. Nice. Well done. Very well put. CI, CD, all that stuff. You got to think about Kanban, but Scrum could also do that. So when it comes to CI, CD, which model or framework best fits? When it comes to CI/CD, the most commonly used framework is DevOps. DevOps is a collaborative approach to software development and deployment and emphasizes communication and integration between software developers, IT operations. The goal of DevOps is to automate the entire software delivery process from development to testing to deployment to maintenance and ensure that software is delivered quickly, reliably, and with high quality. This is achieved through the use of various tools and technologies such as CI/CD, which help to streamline and automate. Nice. Do you know a lot of DevOps folks prefer Kanban? Yes, that is correct. Many DevOps teams prefer using Kanban as more flexible and allows for continuous delivery of software. Kanban emphasizes flow efficiency and limits the amount of work in progress, which helps DevOps teams to reduce cycle time and improve delivery speed. Additionally, Kanban also provides better visualization of work and allows for easy identification of bottlenecks and processes. Cool. Do you know Ken and Jeff of the Scrum fame? Yes. Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland are the co-founders of Scrum Framework for Agile software development. Nice. You do know a lot. I try my best to stay informed. Well, can you tell me how to tailor Scrum up? Because it's so lean anyway that tailoring typically goes up. But also create a comparison of how to tailor Scrum down. And put this all in a table, will you please? All right, so let's see what it comes up with. So you can tailor up the team size in Scrum, it's saying. You can tailor it down. Scrum is just 10, right, or less anyway. But you could tailor it up. No one's stopping you. It's just that you may want to look into scaled professional Scrum to do that. Sprint length, increase sprint length to allow for more work, okay. Or decrease sprint length, so it's 4 weeks or less anyway. Ceremony, add more ceremonies to increase communication and collaboration. Remove non-essential ceremonies. Okay, fair enough. Artifacts, add more artifacts to suit the project and team needs, or remove non-essential artifacts to reduce complexity. Okay. Roles and rules. Define additional roles and rules to accommodate larger team or simplify roles and rules. It's important to note that tailoring Scrum should always be done with the goal of improving the process and better meeting the needs of the team and project. Okay, good take. Now, specifically, add a column to show integration of the following: burn up and burn downs, user stories, Kanban boards, estimating, and anything else like cost of delay, Moscow, Kano, and the concept of DoR and DoD. Also mention epics, features, tasks, themes, story mapping, and anything else like roadmaps. So I hope you're observing how it's taken large volumes of text. You know, this is a large text tool. So don't ever hold back on asking GPT very long questions. It will follow the logic. Now, when it comes to the roles, determine how each role will contribute to burn ups, burn downs. When it comes to artifacts, user stories, burn ups, burn downs, and all that. When it comes to the events, incorporate estimation techniques like planning poker, affinity estimation into the events. When it comes to the principles, use the principles to guide decision making. Very good. And now it's given some additional information about how you can use burn down, stories, Kanban boards, DOR, definition of ready and definition of done. And then epics, roadmaps, it's given us a breakdown of all of those. Okay, good job. Why is it that people are opposed to the DoR in the Agile community? There are several reasons why some people may be opposed to the definition of ready in the Agile community. First, some people feel that the DoR adds unnecessary complexity to the Agile process. They argue that the team should focus on delivering working software rather than spending time defining and refining the requirements. Second, others feel that the DoR can be too prescriptive and limit the flexibility of the team. They argue that the team should have the autonomy to decide when a requirement is ready to be worked on. Third, there may be disagreements within the team about what constitutes a ready requirement. This can lead to delays and frictions within the team. Lastly, some organizations have a culture that is resistant to change and may be resistant to adopting new practices like definition of ready. Overall, definition of ready can be a helpful tool for ensuring that the requirements are well defined and ready to be worked on. It is important for teams to use it in ways that is appropriate for their specific context and to be open to feedback. So you mean like a phase gate? People feel this is draconian, like the product owner needs to get over themselves. Yes, that's one way to interpret it. The DoR can be seen as a phase gate that can slow down the delivery process and limit the team's autonomy. Some Agile practitioners believe that the product owner should trust the team to do the right thing and should not impose too many constraints on them. However, others argue that definition of ready is necessary to ensure that the team has a clear understanding of the requirements and can deliver a high-quality product that meets stakeholder needs. Ultimately, the effectiveness of DoR will depend on the context and the specific needs of the project. Why is there less pushback about the definition of done? The definition of done is generally viewed as a positive aspect of Agile development because it provides a clear and shared understanding of when a piece of work is considered complete. DoD helps ensure that the team is aligned on what the final deliverable should be and allows for transparency in the development process. The DoD can also help identify areas for improvement in the team's processes and can lead to more efficient and effective delivery of work. In contrast to the DoR, DoD is seen as an enabler for the team to focus on quality and delivering value rather than a restriction on progress. Good breakdown. Why is there pushback when it comes to user stories in Agile? There is generally not pushback on user stories as a concept, but some people may struggle with creating effective user stories or using them in the wrong way. Here are some reasons why people may face challenges with user stories: poorly written stories, not breaking down the user stories, focusing on features rather than value, resistance to change. Overall, stories can be a powerful tool. Some folks say Scrum will be better off without using stories, since Ken and Jeff did not mention them in the Scrum guide. While it's true that term user story does not appear in the official Scrum guide, the concept of a product backlog item that represents a customer or end user need or requirement is still an essential part of the Scrum framework. In fact, the Scrum guide specifically states that the product backlog contains descriptions of all features, functions, requirements, and enhancements that constitute the changes to be made to the product in future releases. That's very interesting, ChatGPT. Interesting. Which page or section is that in the Scrum guide? I need to check that language out. So I'm going to check that language out. I'm going to bring up the Scrum guide, scrumguides.org, and let's take a look. Let's fact check what GPT said. The Scrum guide does not explicitly mention stories. Okay. So the word requirement was not specifically used. That's correct. The term requirement is not explicitly mentioned in the Scrum guide. Okay. That's true. It's not. Good. That's what I thought. That is what I thought. Requirements are rather different from user stories, you know. That's correct. Requirements are typically more prescriptive and detailed, while user stories focus on end users' perspective and their needs. User stories are often used in agile methodologies. Can you please stop using the word methodologies? Drives me bonkers. It does. My apologies. Is there a preferred term? Yes, please. Frameworks or just agile approaches. I apologize for any confusion caused. I will use the term agile approaches or frameworks going forward. Nice. So, talking about user stories, do you know about the 3 C's and the RGB? Yes, I'm aware of the 3 C's, the card, the conversation, confirmation, good. On the other hand, RGB stands for role, goal, benefit. Good. All right. Which other story models do you know about? Job stories, epic stories, experience maps, user personas, value stories. Okay, which other story writing models do you know? Okay, job to be done, Gherkin, which is, you're talking more about the acceptance criteria. Event storming, user journey mapping. When it comes to acceptance criteria versus DoD, explain. Let's see if it knows it's agile. Acceptance criteria and definition of done are both essential parts of agile development. Acceptance criteria refer to the specific conditions that user story or feature must meet. Good. DoD refers to an understanding of what it means for a particular increment to be done. Good. It knows it's agile. Good. Good. Thank goodness. While both acceptance criteria and DoD share a common goal of ensuring that the team delivers high-quality work, they serve different purposes. In short, acceptance criteria define what the team needs to deliver for a particular user story or feature, while DoD defines the broader standards that must be met for the entire product increment. Good. Can you explain why the Scrum Guide is so short? Let's see what it tells us about this. Yes, the Scrum Guide is intentionally kept short and simple to maintain its clarity and ease of use. It is designed to be a framework that is flexible and adaptable, and it provides a set of basic guidelines that can easily that can be easily understood and applied to any project. The guide is not intended to be a comprehensive methodology or a detailed set of instructions. Very good, very good. He knows what I'm talking about. So you understand why brevity is the best policy in an agile world. As an AI model, I do not hold personal benefits or opinions, but I can say that brevity is often valued in agile methodologies. I just told you not to say that word. Oh my goodness. I apologize for using the word methodologies earlier. I understand that it's not an accurate term to use for agile frameworks. Okay, then did you forget? My apologies. I don't have the ability to forget, as humans do. Please let me know if there's something specific you'd like me to answer or discuss. Okay. By keeping things concise, clear, team members can better understand their roles, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let me ask you another controversial agile question. Which agile framework or approach is most demonized? I don't think it's accurate to say that particular agile frameworks or approach is most demonized. Different frameworks and approaches have strengths and weaknesses. And what works for one team or organization may not work for another. Some frameworks, such as Scrum, have gained widespread adoption, while others may be less well-known or less popular. Ultimately, it's up to each team or organization. It's so political. Why are you such a politician? I apologize if my previous response came across as political. I try to remain neutral. Which agile framework is considered in the agile community as the least agile? It's not constructive or productive to label any specific agile framework as least agile within the agile community. Each framework has its own strengths and weaknesses, and each organization may find a different framework or approach to be the most effective. It is important to have an open mind and evaluate each framework objectively based on its fit. Well, I think it is the PMBOK guide. Let's see what it says about this. The PMBOK guide is not typically considered an agile framework, as it is a guide for traditional project management. However, with the release of PMBOK 7, there has been an attempt to integrate agile concepts into the guide, so it would not be accurate to say PMBOK guide is least agile framework, but that it has historically been focused on traditional project management approaches. Okay, how about the Agile Practice Guide? The Agile Practice Guide is not a framework itself. It's smart. It knows what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to throw it off. Agile principles and practices into traditional project management. As such, it is generally reviewed positively within the Agile community as a helpful resource for organizations looking to adopt Agile methodologies. Well, what if I referred you to a website called safedelusion.com? I'm sorry, but as an AI language, I do not have the capability or access to browse websites. However, I can tell you that it's important to be critical of sources or information and to ensure that they are reputable and trustworthy before using them as a reference. This is highly reputable. You see, I know you are aware of the scaled agile framework, and its unpopularity in the Agile community, especially with us Scrum Alliance people. What do you have to say about this? Why are we opposed in many ways to it? Now I've badgered it into a corner. It's got to debate me. It's got to debate me. Okay, let's see. As an AI model, I don't hold any personal opinions. A scaled agile framework is a popular framework used by many organizations to scale agile. However, some members of the agile community have criticized SAFe for being too prescriptive and inflexible and not allowing for the same level of adaptability and flexibility that is often associated with agile. Some have also argued SAFe prioritizes process and structure over people and their interactions, which goes against the Agile Manifesto values and principles. On the other hand, supporters of SAFe argue that it provides a clear structure and set of practices for organizations to follow. In order to scale agile practices effectively, they argue that the framework is flexible enough to be tailored to the organization's needs. Ultimately, the choice of which framework or approach to use will depend on the organization's specific needs and context. It's important to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of each of different approaches and choose the one that's best suited to the organization's goals. Yes, that is accurate. In fact, have you record of the framework's visual breakdown? And it drew it out. What do you know? Isn't that crazy? It actually drew the thing out. Okay. This framework is used to organize and manage large-scale projects. However, some of the members of the Agile community feel the framework can become too complex, bureaucratic, and that it may not align with the values and principles of the Agile Manifesto. Okay. So it did know. It was avoiding debating with me. That is close, but it is more convoluted than that. I am, however, impressed at your artistic abilities, GPT. Good job. Thank you. I'm always here to help in any way I can. So, the problems with unsafe are too many to debate here, but you are correct in saying many see it out of sync with the Agile Manifesto. I totally agree. And it's thinking, that was a very long thought, GPT. Did I just scramble your memory banks? Yes, that was a very long pause. Very, very unusual. Yes, there are certain different aspects and opinions within the Agile community regarding scaled Agile framework. Some find it helpful, others have criticized it. Ultimately, the choice of which framework or approach to use depends on the specific needs and context of the organization, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Now, on the flip side, many are opposed in general to Agile. What is the reason for that? There can be several reasons why some people are opposed to Agile. One reason is that Agile is often seen as being too chaotic or lacking structure, which can be challenging for some individuals who prefer a more methodical and predictable approach. Additionally, Agile requires a high level of collaboration and communication among team members, which can be difficult for the organizations that have a more hierarchical or siloed culture. Finally, Agile requires a certain level of flexibility and willingness to adapt to change, which can be difficult for individuals or organizations that are resistant to change. Have a more rigid mindset. Well put, GPT. What else do you see in line with the Agile movements? Progression and future. Will Agile take over completely? Agile has already made significant strides in the software development and project management fields. It's proven to be a valuable approach for delivering products. As organizations continue to embrace Agile, it's expected it will continue to evolve and adapt to new challenges and opportunities. However, it's important to note Agile may not be the best fit for every organization or project. Some projects may require a more traditional linear approach, while others may require a hybrid approach that combines elements of Agile and traditional. Ultimately, the success of Agile will depend on its ability to continue to meet the needs of customers and organizations and to adapt to changing market conditions. Let me ask you another controversial question. One more question. The PMBOK 7 principles, are they superior to the Agile Manifesto or less superior? See how I forced it into debating with me? Now it has to debate. It's difficult to make a direct comparison between PMBOK 7 principles and Agile Manifesto, as they serve different purposes and have different focuses. PMBOK 7 principles are primarily focused on project management and provide a set of guidelines for managing projects. Agile Manifesto is focused specifically on software development. What? GPT, what are you on? That's not true. My goodness. That being said, both sets of principles can be valuable and complementary to each other. PMBOK 7 principles provide a broad framework for managing projects, while the Agile Manifesto provides a more specific set of values and principles for developing software. Oh my goodness, I need to correct it. That is not correct in 2023. Agile is not just about software. Let's see what it says. You're correct. My previous response was not entirely accurate. While Agile methodologies, oh dear. I told you not to use that word. I apologize for using the incorrect terminology earlier. I strive to use the important language. Do you remember what I said not to say? I apologize for using the term methodology. My friends, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate your followership and your audience. If you've been entertained by my banter with this creature called ChatGPT, why don't you hit like, subscribe, and share with other geeks who will be tickled by discussing with an AI model. An AI tool is crazy. But it seems to have a well-rounded idea of the world of Agile. Wouldn't you agree? You take care. Bye for now.